Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Ohana CK-70-8 Taropatch Ukulele. Now, if you don't know what a Taropatch is, it's a concert body with a little bit wider neck, a little bit wider nut, and 8 strings that are all tuned the same. Reentrant G, C, E, A. Now, you could get strings and tune it like a traditional 8-string tenor, but there's something special and historic about a Taropatch. It sort of gives you a chorus effect because you can never truly get all 8 of those strings completely in tune with each other. So you always get this sort of shimmer as if you're playing with a group of ukulele players rather than a single ukulele. It's kind of a cool effect. I've had this one for a while. I bought this one from Mims Ukes. And my number one message to you would be this. If you're going to buy one of these, buy it from a dealer who does setups, somebody good like Mims, with all sincerity, because she will make sure that it's right. There are other dealers that would do the same thing. I bet Uke Republic would do the same thing. I bet Aloha City Ukes would do the same thing. But I know Mim really did this well. The action is wonderful on it. It's very easy to play. So when I'm playing a bar chord, there's no problem with the tension of 8 strings. Also, as I review this, be aware that it does not have its stock strings. I asked from the beginning for the Worth clears on it that are on it, and that is what is on this instrument. So what we're going to do in this full UkeGuide review is, first of all, we're going to look at some subjective categories like I do with every ukulele. Then we'll talk about the specifications, and then I'll summarize it and give it a UkeGuide rating. So let's begin. The cost. They list for $459, but you can find them on the street, not used, brand new, for around $289. And I think, if I remember right, this one might have even been a B stock model that was a few dollars off of that. Now, that does not include any accessories. So when we're talking about value, you're talking about a solid wood instrument here. This is a solid spruce top with solid mahogany back and sides. I think, actually, I'm more partial to the looks. There's a CK-35-8 that's all mahogany that I think appeals to me a little bit more traditionally. And by the way, historically, Martin, we think, was the company that came up with this idea. A little bit larger ukulele than sopranos that were being made at the time, plus the power of 8 strings. So I think the mahogany one would be a little bit more appealing to me, but I do like the sound of this instrument a lot. So it's a solid wood ukulele made to Ohana's standards. Of course, it's an import ukulele. It's not made here in the United States for Ohana. It's imported, which is fine. It is what it is. And that's it. That's all you get. I put on the strap buttons because this is one of my own instruments that I bought. And I also bought, at the time, the hard case for it that is offered. So with that in mind, be aware that you'll probably want to do the same thing. It's a solid wood instrument that probably needs to be cared for in a hard case like that. So just plan on that purchase as well. So the value, you're getting more value than the price, especially at that $289 entry point. Yes, you do have to pay for the case or whatever. It's still a better value than the price, but it's not an extreme value because, again, Ohana could package that. They could just simply package it with the case, or they could put in a couple accessories or something like that. So it's not an extreme value, but it is a good value. The build quality is very good. It appears flawless to me, and especially if this was B stock, I can't see it in here. The wood grain is pretty mahogany. You know, it's a very tight grain spruce. That's a solid spruce. And it's just cleanly built. Now, I do have some fret ends that I'm going to need to touch up that are starting to pop with time, and the wonderful Midwestern climate that I live in. But other than that, it's really well made. The tuners work great, which is sort of what you'd expect when you're paying more than $200 for an ukulele. Actually, you expect that at any price point. And it's well made. Now, no finish problems, no concerns there. There's no binding or anything. We'll talk about appearance in a few minutes. But I do take a look at the inside of an ukulele, which gives you just an idea of how well a company is doing just with the small details. Now, sloppiness on the inside does not mean that it's a bad ukulele, but what it does mean that when you see a nice clean build, that somebody took the care to do it. So let's take a look at the inside. All right, looking at the inside of the CK-70-8, this is the lower bout. There you can see the bridge support plate, you can see the string through bridge, you can see the tail block, you can see the notch kerfing. Very, very clean. Zero to very little glue mess at all. Very, very clean build. And now we're looking at the upper bout. And again, very clean notch kerfing, which some other Ohanas in this price point don't have. There's your neck block. Yeah, overall, very, very nice, clean build on the CK-70-8. And that's our quick look at the inside of this very well-built Ohana CK-70-8 Taropatch. All right, we're back. So as you can see, it's a pretty clean build. I'm very impressed with it. We hear a lot about Ohanas and how they're built to a particular quality standard, and this one would match that for me. Now, in terms of appearance, it's pretty plain. Its main feature is that it has that spruce top. It has sort of a rainbow sound hole, which you don't really get until you get close to it. And while it doesn't have any binding, it does have purfling there on the top. Other than that, you get the mandatory really tall headstock for the instrument. Being an 8-string, you need to put the string somewhere. And that's it. I mean, so it's a pretty plain ukulele overall. In terms of availability, they've been in and out, but I think you can still buy these if you want to get one. Again, check with an Ohana dealer. Now, in terms of playability, it's going to 100% matter where you order it from. Let me say that again. It's going to matter 100% where you order it from. That's not to say anything negative about Ohana's setup or anything, but with an 8-string, you want to make sure that it's playable. That's super duper important. So when Mem set this up, she did it right. It's super playable. It's perfection to play. And it's for an 8-string, it's so easy to play. You don't even know that you're playing an 8-string. And by the way, that's the question a lot of people have is like, do you really feel it? No, the strings are close enough together that it just feels like a really big string that you're playing when you're playing. And you just get that cool effect. Now, it may not be the effect that you want in every song, so that's something to consider. But other than that, really, it's very, very, very playable. Now, I do have one negative here, which is that this Ohana, along with many other Ohanas that I play, feature a really thick, chunky neck. And one of the things that I've been debating, since it's not under any kind of warranty, is do I want to take this to a luthier that I know and have him rework the shape of this neck? And I'm actually considering that because it is super thick and it could be a different profile. And one of my complaints about the Ohanas that I've reviewed on this channel is that the necks have a thick profile, and this one's no different. So if there's any negative in the playing experience, it's the too thick of neck. It's very C-shaped, very much like holding half or more of a baseball bat in your hands as you play, and it's too much wood there. Now, in terms of sound quality, it's very, very good. It's very, very cool sounding, and there's a ton of sustain and that sort of out of tune chiminess that you get with a chorus effect with one of these. So the sustain is just going and going and going. There's plenty of volume. It's bright, it's ringy. And if you watch this channel, you know that I have a preference towards bright and ringy instruments. So that's why this one, I think, appeals to me. Again, while I would like the looks of the traditional mahogany a little better, I think this sound will be more appealing to me. And it's kind of interesting because I've moved away from a lot of my other spruce top instruments. And I was actually considering selling this one. I've been selling a number of my ukuleles, and because I have too many, many that I've kept on to for reviews just in case I need to do a comparison. I was planning on selling this one, and when I got done playing it and preparing it for a review, I thought, you know what, no, this is one that I want to keep. Plus, where else are you going to replace it? Pono has made some Taropatches. I'm not sure if they've got any more available. Some were on sale a few years ago at the ukulele site, and I should have bought one of those Pono Taropatches when they were on sale. Yeah, they were like clearancing them out or something. So I probably should have bought one of those, but there's not a lot of companies that make a Taropatch. So if you're interested in something like this, you don't have a whole lot of options, and you're not going to find many vintage Martins that are Taropatches around. So realistically, I've decided to keep this one, and the sound is a huge part of that. So it's loud, it's bright, it's ringy. Now, one of the things that I do in these reviews is I let you see what I'm hearing. So what I do is I use the app Tonal Energy Tuner, which is what I'm pulling up right now on my iPad, and I play the ukulele into Tonal Energy Tuner and let you actually see what I am hearing. So I'm going to play the C chord. If I was playing a baritone, I'd play the G chord, and I'm going to let you see what happens with the sound frequencies. So this is a harmonic energy. Still ringing. And it's still going, and it gets picked up every now and then, even with that sustain, and the last time. So with that sustain, the high end goes, and then the low end just keeps hanging there. Realistically, it is one of the most balanced sounds when you strum of any ukulele that I've reviewed on this channel. And you can see that in the graph. It sort of keeps that whole thing just keeps lit up across the entire spectrum through all time. And I think that really summarizes this instrument up well. It's really well balanced across the strings. It has a real nice bright clear tone, but it also has some warmth to it thanks to that especially that low sustain at the end. So I think the sound here is very, very good, and I think you would be pleased with it. Can't tell you what the mahogany would sound like in comparison, but I would guess it'd be similar, if not just quite as bright. All right, now that we've looked at the subjective categories of the instrument, let's go into the specifications. It is a concert scale instrument with a 15-inch scale from nut to saddle. It has 19 frets, which is kind of unique, with 14 to the body, and there are side position markers, which helps me a lot as I play. It is a traditional double bout body, and theoretically you could do it as a left hand Taropatch if you wanted to. The soundboard is solid spruce. The back and sides are solid mahogany. The fretboard is rosewood. This was before the restrictions went into play of sort of unique hardwoods. And of course, those restrictions have now been lifted on instruments. And you do have a rosewood bridge too. Interestingly, it's a string through bridge. If you take a look at that, so let's see if I can get you, there you go, you can see it there. So the strings go inside for that bridge. So it's not a traditional tie bar bridge, it's a string through bridge, which is probably good because that tension then is pulling against the entire soundboard rather than on the bridge itself. So your chance of bridge failure is going to be greatly reduced when you have a string through bridge like that, especially on an instrument like this, which is going to have twice the tension on it with twice the strings. The fretboard is not radiused. It'd be kind of cool if it was, but it's not. And the nut and saddle are bone. It is not a compensated saddle, which I guess makes sense when you have 8 strings, although you could get a compensated saddle for it. The finish is a sort of a flat satin finish, especially on the soundboard there. It's really true also of the whole instrument. So it sort of has sort of this like matte finish, but it is a satin finish overall. The length is a little bit longer than many concerts because of that really cool headstock. It's 25.75 inches from tip to tail, and it weighs 1 pound, 5.7 ounces, and it's a bit headstock heavy, if you notice. It's not overly so, it doesn't tire you out, but just so you're aware, that's what it's going to do. The tuner type is this really cool single piece, 4 on a side, rear facing tuners. The action at the first fret was 0.5 millimeters, right on. The action at the 12th is 2 millimeters, lower than I would usually do, but with 8 strings, it makes a lot of sense. Really easy to play, easy to bar. The nut width is almost 38, 37.74 millimeters, which is much wider than many concerts that are at 35. There are exceptions, I know, but it's a nice wide nut, but it kind of has to be because you've got 4 sets of courses or 4 courses of 2 strings each. Between each course is 6.98 millimeters, and it's 32.08 millimeters from G to A on the outside strings. Again, the spacing seems tight, but it's not because you're dealing with basically playing one really thick string at a time. When you're tuning, you kind of have to navigate between the strings to tune a little bit. And if you have nails, that helps. And I don't keep long nails when I play. That's just a personal preference. The final thing I check is the depth of the neck at the 3rd fret, and it's 23.83 millimeters. That's almost as thick as I have measured on instrument. Maybe Ohana felt that it had to have a super thick neck because of the tension of the strings. That's possible, but I'd rather see them use like a truss rod in it instead. Now that would increase the weight a little bit of the instrument, but I think that would be a better solution than such a thick neck. And remember, at that 23.83, if that's not the thickest that I've measured, it's very, very close because the strings are really well set up. So sometimes I've measured, and I think I had one that was a 24 recently just because the action was so high in the strings, because I go from the top of the strings. On that one, the strings are really, really high, so that was the issue. The neck really wasn't that thick. This one, the neck is that thick. It's 23.83 millimeters. All right, now that we've talked about the specifications, let me summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating. Simply put, I found that I love concerts, and I kind of love the historical nature of this. And I love some of these sort of historic instruments that Ohana makes. I've reviewed the VKC Vita uke, and I would love to get one of those. I had to send it back, so I would love to buy one of those someday and have it. Even as I make my collection smaller overall, there are a few instruments that I would just love to have and keep, and Ohana makes these sort of historical instruments in a modern way. So you don't have the cost or the maintenance really of one of those vintage instruments. You can have all the benefits of a new instrument at a much lower cost. That's pretty cool. Now with this one, I was planning on selling it because as I'm clearing things out, I'm like, I don't play it that much. And then once I picked it up and started playing it again, I realized how nice it was, and it's not going anywhere. This is one of them that I'm holding on to. Now, as I mentioned in the review, I think I would like the full mahogany appearance better of the CK-35-8 versus this one, which is the CK-70-8. But I like the sound. The sound is wonderful. And the playing experience, as long as it's set up by a good dealer like Mim, would be the same. So yeah, Taropatches have this very special place in ukulele history. Really, I think making a larger instrument that could fill a room. I think that's one of the things that we think is the reason behind why we call it a concert instrument, because it would fill a concert hall. So not only having a larger instrument that would project better, but then you get double the number of strings. So that really kind of makes it pop. So you can find antique Martins, vintage Martin Taropatches from time to time, but they're going to cost you quite a bit. Pono had some or has some. I don't know of many other people that have them, although you could find luthiers that I'm sure that would make you one. Altogether, though, it's affordable, under $300. It's really well made. It's available, sounds good. And really, the only negative that I can bring to it is the fact that the neck is so thick. And there are some solutions that Ohana could do to solve that problem. And again, I think you're also going to want to buy the nice hard case that is sort of custom made for this instrument as well. So as I review ukuleles, I give them a score between 0 and 5 ukuleles. This ukulele is a very solid 4.5, and if that neck had a better profile, it'd be a 5 out of 5. Very, very, very good. And really, if you're interested in this sort of instrument, it's sort of a no-brainer. It's affordable for what you're getting for a solid ukulele. It has a great sound and bought from the right dealer. I can't say that enough in this review. It's just a joy to play and own. All right. Thanks so much for joining me for this UkeGuide review. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.